today's talk is a hakdama, an introduction to Yud Gimel Ikarim to explain what they are, to explain what they do. Right? The Rambam writes in the when he first presented the Yud Gimel Ikarim in his Pirush al Mishnayot in Perek Chelek in Sanhedrin. So he writes at the end. He writes two things. He says, first of all, Yud Gimel Ikarim is something zelo pashut. It's very deep. And Rambam writes, I worked on it very, very hard. And if you think after 10 times you understood it, you're fooling yourself. Because I worked on it. Rambam said, that he put in tremendous work. There's a lot very pshutim. There's not easy ideas. It's very, very deep. Rambam himself says, I put a lot of work into it. And even after 10 times, don't expect to understand the full depth of Yud Gimel Ikarim. So we try to understand what's so deep about these ideas a little bit. But the Rambam, before what he wrote, right before that postscript I just quoted, he has another postscript Yud Gimel Ikarim to say what difference they make. What difference does it make if you know these 13 or you don't know these 13? He says Dvarim Mod Chamurim, things that are very, very stringent. He says a person who believes in these Yud Gimel Ikarim, at the minute that he believes in all of them, Az hu nichnas bechlal Yisrael, then he's part of the Jewish people, and then the mitzvot ben adam lechavero apply to him, right? And if he does all the averot, afil b'mezid, but mitoch ta'ava, because he couldn't control his desires, nidon lefi go to rishon be partially dirok avo yesh lo chelek olam haba, guaranteed chelek olam haba. You have to pay for what you did wrong, guaranteed chelek olam haba. So if you have these 13 ikarim, you're a member of the Jewish people, the mitzvot ben adam lechavero apply to you, and you have a guaranteed chelek olam haba no matter what you did wrong, right? But if you're missing even one of these 13, just the opposite. You're out of the fold, right? Michutz lamachane, michutz laklal, right? And mitzvot ben adam lechavero. That person who doesn't believe one of Yud Gimel Ikarim is not your fellow Jew. So the mitzvot ben adam lechavero, k'miut chasadim, and they don't apply to him. Right? Just the opposite. Mitzvah lisnoto v'la'abdo. He says it's a mitzvah to hate him and to try to obliterate him. So it's chamur mod. The Yud Gimel Ikarim is everything's hinging on it, right? A person's whole Yiddishkeit, right? A person's whole being a Jew, and being a ben olam haba. It's all talui on these 13 ideas. I have to understand, lama, right? So we began saying before the pela atzum, right? It's an amazing wonderment, right? That you have to believe in every word of Torah, right? Every word, Bereshit Baruch, you have to believe Bereshit. Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it mipi agvura, mipi shakadosh baruch hu bara. Okay, every word. Right? The Yud Gimel Ikarim is not the complete list of everything a Jew has to believe in. Right? You have to believe in every word of Torah. So what's special at the Rambam? You have to believe in every word of Torah. And Rambam himself writes that in the Ikar Hashmini. You have to believe in every word of Torah that's min hashamayim, and you have to believe in the Torah Sheba'al Peh also. Right? So if you have to believe in all of Torah, why were these 13 separated? Right? Okay, so Be'emet, right? There were a lot of Rabbanim, Rishonim and Achronim, that didn't understand what the Rambam was saying. They said, "Ma kol Torah kula ikarim." Right? Every word of Torah is an ikar, because every word of Torah you have to believe in. Right? Kol Torah kula mipiv shakadosh baruch hu. Right? The whole Torah came from Hashem's mouth. Kivyachol. So, what is 13 are special? Right, the Barbanel wrote that, the Yavitz wrote that, the Radvaz wrote that, the Chatam Sofer wrote that. A lot of people don't understand what's special about these 13 more than Kol HaTorah Kula Ikarim. Right? On the other hand, on the other side, there were Rabbanim, there were Talmidei Haran of Rabbeinu Nissim. That's printed back in the Gemara. Again, Talmidei Haran, they said Hafuch. Probably what the Rambam wanted was to make some type of basic structure. Tafasta meruba lo tafasta, something, if that's, so they assume that that's what the Rambam wanted. They say, if that's what the Rambam wanted, 13 is too much. Right? A basic one.
Who came with this 13 Irarim to begin with?
The Rambam.
Rambam. So
Rambam.
He's the one who started it.
He's the one who started.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Rambam started, right. So okay, so they say like this, they say afuch, they say on the other side of the issue, right? If you're looking for a basic structure, 13 is already too much for a basic structure.
3.
3, that's right, how did you know?
Just guess.
You guess, huh? He's right. He's right. 3. He's right. Yeah. Right. The Talmidei Aran, they say a basic structure. So one time it said 7, but then Rav Yosef Albo wrote a sefer called Sefer Ikarim. 3 Ikarim, right? There's 3 basic ideas for a person to be a religious person, right? So there's to believe that there's a God, because there's no God, there's no religion. You have to believe that the God commanded something, because he didn't command anything, there's no religion. And you also have to believe in schar v'onish, that there's reward and punishment. So that one is not maybe as obvious as the first 2. Why do you have to believe in reward and punishment? It's like a basic belief. Right. If I tell you I have something very, very important for you, it's the best. It's the best. But it makes no difference if you keep it or not. Right? It doesn't mean anything. If you're not going to gain anything by keeping it, schar means you'll gain something by keeping it. You have what to gain. Onesh, punishment, means it's a general way of expressing you have something to lose if you violate it. If you say there's no schar vein onesh, right? There's no reward and no punishment, means it doesn't make a difference. So it doesn't make a difference is meaningless, right? But let's not make a mistake. The Baal Sefer Ikarim, Rav Yosef Albo, he's not saying you only have to believe 3 things. Chas v'shalom, chas v'shalom. He's just saying if you're looking for basic ideas, there are 3 basic ideas that make a religious framework, right? But of course, you have to believe in all the pratim that the Chumash and the Chazal say you have to believe in, right? But these are basic categorical beliefs. So, like Ram said, basic structure, right? So there's a basic structure, and all the detailed emunot, all the detailed beliefs, all fit in to one of these 3 categories. Every religion has these 3 categories of belief. Emunot, about that there is a God. Emunot, that about the law that he commanded, and emunot, about the difference that it makes, the schar v'onish. Right? And remember, let me quickly show how we can fit the Rambam's 13 into these 3 also. Right? Right. The Rambam's first 5, right? That Hashem is, that He's one, and en lo guf, right? And He's kadmon, He always was, right? V'lo levad aroi l'pal, only pray to Him and no one else. That all fits into Mitziut Hashem. Right, Albo's first category. The next 4, right? Nevuah, Nevuat Moshe, right? And Torah min Hashamayim, and the Torah won't change. All 4 have to do with Torah min Hashamayim, Albo's middle category, right? And now the last 4, right? The last 4 of that Hashem knows everything, and Hashem gomel ish chesed, and He gives it schar v'onesh, and gives reward and punishment, right? And that there will be Mashiach, it will be Tchiyat HaMeitim. That all has to do with schar v'onesh. So you see, Albo's, he has his general categories that work. That all religious beliefs will fall into these 3 categories, right? Right? So why did the Rambam? But the Rambam doesn't have that system. The Rambam has 13. Each one's equally as important. So the Rambam must be coming from somewhere else, right? But it's just like interesting to note. The Rosh Yeshiva Zechron Livracha used to always point out. So the Albo's categories, Christianity is a religion. It may not be the true religion, but it's a religion. It has a religious framework. Mitziut Hashem, right? There's a God. He gave a law, and you have reward and punishment. Islam is also a religion. Right? It may not be the true religion, it may be a fake religion, but it's a religion. It has that basic structure. Reconstructionist Judaism, right, is not a religion. It's a culture, it's an ethnicity, it's not begetter religion. It cannot be defined even as a religion.
Why?
Go to Albo.
They don't believe in Torah min Shamayim. Reform also. Torah min Shamayim is that.
That's
Go to Rambam or the
No, I can even say, according to Albo's categories, which are the most broad, the Reformed, Conservative, doesn't qualify as a religion, right?
Why not?
Yeah, because
They don't
the Reconstructionist Judaism doesn't even have any of the 3, right?
right. But they believe
I mean,
They don't have nothing. It's culture. It's a culture. They call themselves a religion.
But the Torah is not min Shamayim.
I mean, I would have been cared.
Handwritten.
I would have been cared. Albo says as long as there is law.
No. The Alba said there's 3 ideas. 3 have Mitziut Hashem, Torah min Hashamayim. Right. But not to make a mistake. Albo says you have to believe in a lot of things. It's just 3 categories of types of belief. And so he said the Rambam's Ikarim are not categories because they're very detailed. So he doesn't know where the Rambam's coming from. All right? So now we have to try to understand where the Rambam's coming from. So obviously, right, he's not setting up a basic structure because he says it makes a very concrete difference. Right? In or out. You have these 13, you're in the fold. You're in Klal Yisrael and you're Ben Olam Haba, guaranteed. You don't have one of these 13, you're out of the fold. His Ikarim is a whole different idea, right? So there's a lot was written for hundreds of years trying to explain what the Rambam was getting at, and Bar Rabbeinu, Rosh HaYeshiva, and said it Achi Meduyak, the most accurate that could be said. But, and I saw many Svarim, and Kulam said approximately, and Rosh HaYeshiva Zechor Baruch said it exactly. Well, Omet, right? He said like this, a Yisod Gadol, a very big principle. The Yud Gimel Ikarim are the ideas that you need to be aware of in order to be able to accept the Torah as absolute truth. Now we have to maybe define that absolute truth is not a politically correct idea, right? Everyone in their truth, right? Right. Right, but let's give an example of absolute truth and understand what it means to be Be'emet a Ma'amin in Torah Moshe. Right? Again, like most historical facts are not absolute truth. You know why? Because it didn't have to happen that way. Like what history says, so and so did such and such on such and such a day. That guy had 5 options what he could have done. Right? He could have done 5 different things. He chose one. Right? So history, most historical facts are not absolute truth. It could have happened differently. Right? The guy had 5 different options. He happened to choose this particular option, and because that's what he chose, so that's what becomes written in the history books. But everyone would admit it could have been different. He had like many options, right, on the table. Right?
So you're saying his action is not absolute truth?
Not absolute, because it was one possibility out of many. Okay. But now we're going to compare that to a different type of truth. So historical truth is true, but I'm trying to say it's not an absolute truth, because it could have been different. There was room for other possibilities, right? But now...
Why is not absolute truth?
What?
How do we know that's...
So I'm going to give an example of something that's the closest to what we know as absolute truth, right? Right? 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Mashal. Right? So when we say 2 plus 2 equals to 4, and that's truth. Does that mean like this? Well, so far, 2 plus 2 has been equaling 4, right? To date, this is correct. What's going to be tomorrow? I don't know. We'll check again tomorrow, we'll count again, right? But up till now, it seemed to work that 2 plus 2 is always equal to 4, right? Is that...
See, absolute in English could mean 2 things. I think so.
Okay.
At least more people understand 2 things.
Yeah.
Absolute could mean without any doubt or behechrach. That
Right.
means behechrach,
Behechrach.
not without any doubt.
Right, behechrach.
Behechrach.
Yeah.
Not with
It's
behechrach.
also a
How
vodka.
Imperative.
Right, how should we translate in English?
Imperative.
What?
Imperative.
Imperative?
Imperative.
Then would they understand it better?
Yeah.
No, it should be
How do you
behechrach.
translate?
No, the
Imperative has to
history
be.
is not. History might be if they tell it
It's the way it
over,
has to be.
and the source is true. There's no doubt. That's not behechrach. It's not behechrach that happened. Maybe something else. There's some behechrach happened like
Is
that.
it
They always say behechrach.
It could have been different.
Is this different than
Imperative
emet?
truth.
I mean,
what do we call emet? Should
Emet
it
or
be
sheker? Is this what it means?
Well,
Yeah. No, so I'm trying to say, so our best dugma, our best example for absolute truth would be mathematics. Simple mathematics, 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. So what,
behechrach has to be 4.
it has to be 4. It always was
Has to be.
4, right? It always will be 4, and it's 4 also on the moon. If you had 2 plus 2 equal, it'll be 4 on the moon. It'll be true all the time, everywhere. It leaves no room for any other possibility. Right? Not just that it happened to be true, it worked out. No, not doesn't just work out that way, right? But it's the only truth. 2 plus 2 can only be 4, right? So now our Torah, what type of truth is it? Right? What type of truth is it? Right? Is it like, well, listen, Ma'amad Har Sinai. Listen, we think Ma'amad Har Sinai happened because a lot, because Avotenu, our forefathers tell us, and it was not just a dut of one person. There was 600,000 men besides women and children. But But so we think, listen, Maimar Sinai, that happened to have been true, right? With Yeshu, Yoshka, right? Him, that guy, right? So he didn't really walk on water. He was water skiing, right? And just the people got confused, right? Right?
Barefoot?
But, right? What?
Barefoot?
It was very good, right?
Okay.
Right. So, is it? So we don't think that that's what happened. So the Judaism is what happened. The Christianity, that didn't happen, right? But if it will happen, but it didn't. It just it didn't, right? Or Christianity can't happen, right? Our Torah is an absolute truth that leaves no room for any other possibility. No other possibility exists. An emet, that's an emet, b'kol makom u'b'kol sha'ah. Right, an absolute
What's
truth.
an example?
So, what's an example from?
It's an opening of the Red Sea.
Right.
Okay. Is that something that absolutely there is no chance
No.
of happening?
No, it's true. It is truth.
What?
You can be mechanic true and truth. It can be true but not truth. It happened but not true. It wasn't true. It wasn't the right thing to happen. Or
That's
that absolute. A little bit.
Right. There is. You have to believe in Torah as the emet hayachid, the single truth that leaves no room for any other possible truth.
Example.
Right. Example. Right. Right. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu has infinite power. Right. It has infinite power. Right. And so therefore you must work for him. You must obey him because you don't have an alternative. There is no alternative. There's no alternative out there. There isn't. And there's Hashem Echad, right? That's one example, right? And the Torah also, the Torah that He gave us is a Torah emet, right? That means that there's no other truth. There's not just there's Torah. There's people that talk about there's my I have my religious truth. My religious truth, and I have my scientific truth. So people say, when I'm in Beit Knesset, I believe in Briat HaOlam, I believe in creation. When I'm in my laboratory, my classroom, I believe in evolution, right? Chas v'chalil, afar lepumayo, right? No, we understand that the Torah is an absolute truth. It's not just true in the Beit Knesset. It's the truth. It is the truth everywhere, right? There is not a different truth out there. There is no room out there, even on a different planet, for a different truth other than our Torah, right? And we also have to believe, right, that the difference that Torah makes, it makes an absolute difference, right? The one way for Hatzlacha is only with Torah. En derech acheret. En derech acheret. So yes, the Rambam's 13 Ikarim could be put into the Albos 3, but the Rambam made these detailed Ikarim because you need them all in order to realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is emet, right? And there is no other koach outside of him. And he's the one truth that there is. You don't have en lanu amili sha'en, ela alavinu shebashamayim. And the Torah that he gave you is the only truth. There is no other emet, right? And that the difference that the Torah makes, the Torah is the one and only thing that will bring lidei hatzlacha b'olam hazeh u'b'olam haba. There is nothing else, right? So even though the Rambam, could be, talks about Albos three categories, but the added pratim that each one is an ikar, because you need to know all these things in order to be real with the idea that the Torah is an absolute truth. As a zenikra. That's called to be makabel Torah. To accept the Torah as absolute truth. That's it. If you have all these things, then you're part of Klal. You have to accept the Torah as absolute truth. So now I'm going to give some examples. Right? I'll just give one example from each category. Right? So an example from the first category, Mitzvot Hashem. Yadua is that the Rambam fought his whole life to teach Am Yisrael that HaKadosh Baruch Hu en lo guf. He has no body. He has no body. So it's not so pashut in the Rambam's days, and so many of the Rambam's writings are dedicated to this point, and everyone knows in Hilchot Tshuva, he's very unforgiving of someone who says Ribosh is a Baal Gufu, Baal Tmuna, right? And the Ravad over there says, oh, he made a mistake, what's so bad? And the Rambam doesn't forgive him, doesn't forgive anyone even who thinks Ribosh is a Guf, B'taut, even by mistake, is unforgivable.
It is a big deal.
So I'll explain to you why.
How can you forgive? How can you forgive?
All right, so I'll explain to you why. Why is it a big deal? Well, I'll explain to you why it's a big deal. Because let's say even God at Chas v'Chalil, okay? Like, let's just imagine that Ribono has a big body from here to Mars, right? Right? So he sees everything that you do, right? Let's say, right? He's bigger than you. You got to be scared. He's the big guy, right? Right? But Afal Pikein, nonetheless, right? No body is of infinite power. I'm just waiting for the opportunity that he's going to turn around to look at Pluto for a second, right? Or I'm dreaming about, I want to build that spaceship that could get past Mars, and I'll be rid of him. Yeah? No, you don't want that. You don't want that, right?
I understand what you're saying.
Right.
By nodding, that doesn't mean yes, I
Yeah.
agree. I'm saying I understand.
Right? You'll be just thinking your whole life, how do I get rid of him? If that's a goof, it's a big goof. You calculate where that body ends, and you want to go there. Which means that even so long as you're working for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're trying to think, how can I be free of him? But Ein lo goof, he has no body, it means he's everywhere. There's no such thing as being free of him. There's no such thing as being where he isn't. So that's just. But you need not just Ein Guf, you need all the 5 things that the Rambam wrote about HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the first 5 Ikarim, that between all 5, you get the message, when you have all those 5 ideas, Hashem is an absolute being. You have nowhere else to turn. That's the 5th Ikar. Lo levad ro lepalav. No one else can help you. Don't bother praying to anyone else. No one else can help you. Just him. So Ram spelled, we have all these 5 ideas, all those 5 Ikarim, you have it worked out, that Hashem is an absolute being. Right? From the next 4. Right, that the Torah will never change, right? So that's the 9th Ikar. So we take that as an example, right? As for what the Rambam wants with all his Ikarim that pertain to Torah min Hashamayim, right? So on this Ikar, it was even those there was a machloket with the Rambam, right? On this one Ikar, right? That the Rav Yosef Alba quote for us said, why can't Hashem himself change the Torah? Me and you can't change the Torah. But the Rambam says even Hashem won't change the Torah. You have to believe even Hashem won't change. Why are you telling him what to do? He can do what he wants. He's boss, right? So Albo says. Now he has a whole bunch of kashas. Maybe Torah did change. It goes from Bnei Noach to Bnei Israel. In history, it went from Sheva mitzvot to Taryag mitzvot. We're not going to answer all of Albo's kashas right now. We're going to talk about the principle. But Albo asked the question, Rambam, why do you say this? Right? That we have to believe even Hashem. He won't change the Torah. Not just me and you won't change the Torah. Even HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'chvodo B'atzmo is not changing the Torah. Why are we telling him what to do? No, because we have to believe that the Torah that he gave us is an absolute truth. If the Torah could change, that means it's only true temporarily. There are times when a person's chayav loli dei nisayon, a kosher shouldn't bring us test. But there's some times when a person has to die al kiddush Hashem, it means moser nefesh. No, rather than do avodah zarah, gilui arayot, shvichut damim, right, the 3 cardinal sins, or makom chilul Hashem, kayadua, would you be willing to be moser nefesh, right, to sacrifice your life if you think the Torah could change? If the Torah could change, I'll take my chance. I'll take my chances, not be moser nefesh, because maybe this halakha that I'm being moser nefesh for will fall out of use tomorrow or next week, right? You can't be seriously committed to a Torah that you believe can change. So the Torah can't change means this Torah is an absolute Torah. It's true for all times. And when you realize that, you could be committed and be willing to Msarat HaNefesh. Right?
What about if the change happens at the time that happens?
What do you mean?
At that time you are committed to this Torah, and when it happens, the change, you are going to be committed to that Torah.
No, but if a person thinks that this Torah is temporary, well, I keep committed to Torah, it's temporary. Really committed, belev shalem. It's going to change tomorrow, or maybe it'll change. So, ala safek, that it might change, I'm not going to be moser nefesh. I'm not going to be moser nefesh. If there's a chance that the Torah is going to change, why should I be willing to sacrifice my life for it?
If there's a change,
What?
I'm obligated
But
to
then
keep till
I-
when? Till when? I'm obligated to keep till the change, right? So what would Hashem would say if there is a change?
Yeah.
What would Hashem say? Hashem would say that, from now on the Mafriya changes or the changes.
No, it doesn't make a difference. I'm not going to be.
The word
I'm not going to be
comes down.
committed.
The word would come out down. The word.
That's
In
right.
Torah it says Moshe, you know, he knew the Torah and Torah is above Moshe. If you change Torah, it's not gonna fit in.
I think even Hashem won't change the Torah.
Even Hashem will not. And not just me and you. Even Hashem not. Because to say and to prove that means Hashem gave us a Torah that's an absolute truth. He didn't give us a second-rate Torah that there could be like an improved Torah afterwards. He gave us the best Torah that it could be, right? And that's why it won't change. It's the best, right? If it could change, it's something better, right? Or it's only true for a part of the time. So that's the Rambam said you have to believe the Torah will never change. Even Hashem won't change the Torah. And if you believe that, then you're real with the idea that the Torah that we have is an absolute Torah. Right? And then when you believe it's absolute, you can be really committed. Right? Then we'll go like one example from the last four. Tchiyat HaMeitim. Tchiyat HaMeitim. The Rambam made that in Ikar. So we use that as a mashal for all the four. Right, that Torah makes an absolute difference. You know what the biggest question on how Torah, the biggest kasha that we have on whether Torah makes an absolute difference? History itself. Right, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, made the Briat Olam, Bereshit, B'shul Yisrael Sheniku Reshit, B'shul HaTorah Shenikret Reshit. Right, that's what the whole world is for Am Yisrael and for the Torah. What happened? What happened now? Asara Dorot, Me'adam ad Noach. What's the Mishnah say? They all got the Rebbe Shalom angry till they via Mea Mabul. Then Asara Dorot, Minoach Aravram. Right? Same thing. They all got the HaKadosh Baruch Hu angry. Actually, Ba'avram Natal Schar Kula. Right? Next generation, how many people are successful? Just one, Yitzchak. Next generation, only one, Yaakov. Right? Next generation gets a little bit better. We have 12 Shvatim. But there's also millions and millions of more people in the world. How much time is Am Yisrael begalut? Most of world history. I mean, seriously, it's a serious problem. So like Kivyach looks like Chas v'Shalom, the Rebbe Shalom's project failed. So we had the Emunah of Mashiach, which is the Ikar before, that things are going to change, that things have to come under control, but there's still a kasha of what happened to most of the years of world history. So even Sof tov hakol tov, right? Even though it ends well, all's well, it ends well. But come on, right? All's well as ends well is not good enough. It's not good enough. What's going to be with all those years of history that went to waste? Right? Right? That's the Emunah Tchiyat HaMeitim, the Leshem, Rabbi Yasha's grandfather, last of the big Lithuanian Kabbalists. No, a real Kabbalah, not from 2 doors down. This is the real stuff. This is the real stuff, right? Right? He said that's the Emunah of Tchiyat HaMeitim. Everything's going to come back. All the opportunities that you thought were lost, right? Right? All those opportunities come back. Tchiyat HaMeitim, when we say it's only for the tzaddikim, that means only the tzaddikim come back with their consciousness. But in that world of the resurrection, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings back all the kochot, all the energies that there ever were. Right, the energies of 10 years ago, all the kochot that there are, every day has its energies. All the kochot come back. The Risha'im, their kochot come back, but they don't come back as themselves. Their consciousness is not reconstituted, but all the kochot that were at their disposal, all those days come back. All the kochot of all those days, all those resources, everything comes back to show that not one iota of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's world was wasted. The Rishayim just wasted themselves. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu's world wasn't depleted by one iota. By Tchiyat HaMeitim, all the kochot come back. All those years that you think were lost, right? All those years come back. And that's the Emunah of Tchiyat HaMeitim, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is of absolute power. His plans can't be foiled, right? And if you think that Chas v'Shalom, there was something that halach li'ibud, something got lost, HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't lose anything.
Thousands of years.
It all comes back. All the world of the resurrection is weaved out of all the kochot and all the days that there ever were. They all come back. Right? The Rishayim just don't come back as themselves. Their consciousness is not is not reconstituted, but all the kochot that were at their disposal come back. So call it the Russia just wasted himself, but didn't deplete the Ribbon Shalom's world by one iota. So with the emunah to get the it can really be real that Kosh is of absolute power, and Torah makes an absolute difference, and Torah is always matzliach. Torah never fails. Okay.
چون بگیم که نمیم تو